we ended up getting the rights to do the junior version of Beauty and the Beast. That was our very first production, costume sets, everything. And the really cool thing about theater is it's all community. Everybody rallied around this idea of we want this in our community, we need this for our kids, and let's do a show.
Welcome to the Good for Business podcast. My name is Colin Krieger, and my guest is my good friend, Garrett Torbert from the Golden Triangle Theater. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, this is my favorite part of that show is where I get to know people I apparently think I already know. So I'd like to start with your entire life story. We've got all day. Where are you from other than parts unknown?
So I am originally from Theodore, Alabama, which is a community right outside of Mobile. Born and raised there, and that's where I grew up. So,
what did you do down there? Any siblings, parents, everything down there?
So, yes, I'm the middle child. I also like to say I'm the favorite, but no, I have an older brother and a younger sister, and they are all still in Mobile. I sort of flew the coop. And did my undergraduate degree down in University of South Alabama in Mobile, and then moved up to Kansas City, Missouri for 2 years to get my master's degree at the Conservatory of Music that's up there, and then decided to get a terminal degree, and so I have a doctorate in music. All my degrees are in music, studied voice. Opera was kind of my thing for a long time, and ended up finishing my DMA at the University of Alabama in 2019.
Okay. How do you end up in these parts in Columbus, Mississippi?
Well, I had found out about a job at Mississippi State through a mutual friend. He actually was leaving, and his position was coming open. And so he had encouraged me to apply for that position in the music department over there. And so that was back in the summer of 19, everything was kind of crazy then, because I actually was supposed to go and take a semester sabbatical replacement for somebody at the University of Montevallo. And this job came open at Mississippi State, and everything happened within the span of 2 weeks. Did the interview, got the call a couple of days later after the committee had met and everything, and had moved into my apartment on campus in faculty housing in the end of July of 19. So everything really happened in a short time span. So that's what brought me over to Starkville. But what brought me to Columbus was the Catholic Church. Now, I wasn't raised Catholic, but being a musician, we have to find maybe some supplemental income every now and then. But ended up playing at the Catholic Church here in Annunciation, and really enjoyed Columbus. And that was kind of my introduction to Columbus, was coming over here on Sunday mornings and playing, and Wednesday nights for choir and stuff. And really kind of fell in love with Columbus. And faculty housing was temporary at State anyways, so I was eventually going to have to move out. But still working there, but I decided that I wanted to move to Columbus. And so I lived above the paint store, which is no longer there, but had a great apartment downtown here in Columbus. Still live downtown, but ended up moving down here in March of 2020. Literally the week of the shutdown was when my lease started, and ended up after that I moved back home for about a month or two until things sort of settled down, and then came back up here and got my act together with my apartment and stuff. So that's how I ended up in Columbus back then.
So growing up as a wee lad on the Gulf Coast, were you singing or playing music, or both?
Both. So I started out singing in church, but I have a love for piano, and so my mom threw me into piano lessons, threw all of us into piano lessons. I started playing when I was 6, and was the only one in my, as far as my siblings, who stuck it out. My brother ended up quitting, and my sister took for a little while, but it didn't last very long. And then I decided to do band, and so I played the trumpet. So pretty musical all around. My dad also has a beautiful voice. So as far as there being something in the family musically, it was from his side for sure. No offense to my mom. But anyways, so yeah, but I was in choir and band. I did the, both sides of things in high school, and did marching band and continued on with all of that into my college years.
Any theater in high school too?
Actually, no. We did not have an established theater program in my high school. So I actually remember the first time I ever auditioned for a show. It was Annie. And I was not kidding you, as you know, too, but second tree from the left.
Yeah.
I was like second mouse from the right. And ended up, I was so upset that I got like that small, minuscule role that I didn't end up doing the show. But it was at like our Playhouse in the Park in Mobile. But I didn't really do theater until I got involved with Mobile Opera. Started taking voice lessons a bit more seriously as I became an upperclassman in high school. And my voice teacher at the time was like, you should audition for the opera chorus in Mobile. And I was a junior and was like, okay, sure. And they ended up taking me in as just a chorister, which, that was amazing, being a high school student singing in an opera chorus. But ended up really getting involved in that genre of singing about senior year of high school, and that's when my love for theater sort of blossomed. But most of my training was in classical singing. I've always loved musical theater, just as something for fun, a little niche thing. Never would have imagined it'd be what I'd basically be doing full time now.
Yeah.
So it's great.
Well, that's something I've learned while it's on it, because I think it's in the back of a lot of people's minds. My father was, I would say, an American class tenor. He sung professionally for a while and stuff. And so that it was the opposite for me. It encouraged my brother, who does choir and other groups like that, and probably discouraged me, because my father would go to professional performances and we'd leave and he'd be critiquing why the tenor mailed it in. And I'm like, this guy went to La Scala.
Yeah.
And you're sitting here teasing him. And so it probably discouraged me for a large part of my life till Sarah Wade and yourself inevitably tricked me into doing something. What I think is the most rewarding part of that, the theater, and we'll get to that from your point of view, is that, some people will be like, where's the touchdown, is what I say. Is like, you score the touchdown, you're like, yay. With musical theater, it's there constantly. Like that's one of the best parts about Golden Triangle Theater, is that you can go up there and ruin your audition and everybody's like, you did great. And they're just such a support system there from the young to the old. Like, it's just a great tribe,
Yeah.
So how do you end up at the theater if you're at Starkville and living in Columbus?
Well, so the Golden Triangle Theater really, like I said, I never anticipated it at all being what I do now. But when the pandemic happened, like most people, I was sort of looking for, me personally, a creative outlet. Wasn't getting as fulfilled as I wanted to in higher ed. Just by the sheer nature of, what I was doing. It wasn't nobody in particular. But I just loved being involved in shows. And I think having that past experience of, singing in the opera chorus and then doing theater in college and stuff, like just being with that community of people like you were talking about, like I did not have that. And being new to this area, I was hungry for it. And I love teaching. That was something that I was very passionate about too. So I ended up putting out a Google form on the Columbus What's Going On page back in 2021 in May. And just basically said, I'm looking to either teach private lessons, or if you're interested in some sort of after-school activity for your student that's involving drama, let me know. And the church that Annunciation, where I'm at still, they very much were like, sure, we'd love to have you, because I didn't have any place to do it. I was still very new to the area. So they were like, well, you can have the activity center and your classes. And so I was like, okay. So they were very gracious about that. So I ended up actually putting out the feeler, had 20 plus parents show interest. And of those parents, one of them ended up being the lady who helped me kind of get things started, Tennille Komulainen. She was at the time, the fine arts teacher at Columbus Christian. And she was very excited. She had been at CCA, I think officially about 3 years, but she'd been living in the area about 9. Her husband was military and stuff. But she actually had a fine arts degree, loved theater, very passionate about it, did a lot of writing, original playwriting. In fact, everything that the school did was original works. And she had a very sweet spirit, and she was very intentional at everything that she did, and making sure every student felt like they had a place or a role in the shows that she had. And then she ended up offering her assistant. So she and I kind of tackled the music because that was my strength. She tackled the theater because that was new to me. And so she was very good at the activities and all that kind of stuff. So we ended up teaching a couple of classes a week over at the church. Between the two, we had a younger group and an older group. We had about 12 to 15 who were involved in our program. And that culminated to a performance at the end of this semester at the RAC, at the Arts Council. And we had like 90 people upstairs. I mean, it was the coolest thing because we had to keep the doors open. We had people standing outside. The place was packed. It was so cool. And then from that moment, I was like, okay, well, we're going to need to get serious about this, or at least give it another semester, and let's do a show. And we ended up getting the rights to do the junior version of Beauty and the Beast. And ended up, that was our very first production, costume sets, everything. And the really cool thing about theater is it's all community, and everybody rallied around this idea of we want this in our community, we need this for our kids. I mean, I had volunteers helping to build the set. We were up at the Columbus Middle School, which is where we did the production, having work day. I had a volunteer make some more costumes for us, parents. It's very exciting, but we had to make 55 costumes, or at least costume 55 students. So we had basically, after that first semester, put out another feeler and had 55 kids in that spring production. And so from there on, we were, let's get serious about it. And so we ended up playing a season, and then there was an interest in adults. There was an interest for adult community. And I was still at Mississippi State at this point, too, and had students who wanted to do more performing. And so kind of getting those students involved, and some community members who were very talented here out of the woodworks. And so it's been really cool to kind of see everybody latch onto this really unique thing for our community, and ever since, we've really, I think, done some great work in the community to help bolster the arts, and encourage our young people. And I think one of the things that I try and do to educate parents and everybody is that we're not just entertaining. We're educating, we're building life skills, for what we're doing right now, having this conversation, and feeling comfortable in that environment. And I think what, we hope to continue to do down the road is just be able to reach as many students as we can through our programs. So.
Well, art is everywhere, and the appreciation of art is everywhere, but the smaller the community gets, the harder it is. You have a wonderful situation here. I talked to John Klosterman, who's got some, from Ridge House, and he's got a store downtown, and got a lot of Mobile ties still.
Yeah.
And he stands here the way I do sometimes, and sometimes it takes an outsider's point of view to go, you've got this cool river town, you've got a lot of eccentric people, you've got cool old houses, a lot of appreciation of the arts, and you almost have to pull it out of them. You can have an art center, and the RAC has done good. We've had a lot of different directors and stuff, but to have not just a studio that's the theater that's producing stuff, but especially in the last, I'd say, 18 months, where y'all have been very intentional about building the next generation. I was thinking about that when I was at the auditions for Hairspray a couple weeks ago, that I'm like, there's 15 kids here. And they were and I went to Oklahoma, just 2 years removed from Oklahoma, and they were 6 kids. And they were all, everybody, the adults' kids.
Yeah.
These were kids from the school who were there by themselves. And so y'all are, I told my wife the other day, I said, 3 years from now I won't be able to get a role, because there's a whole generation, have literally created an opportunity for them to see that this is something realistic and fun and energizing to do.
Right. Well, it's like you said too. I really what we've built, and it's not. I mean, it's so many, and I like to say we because it's a community. It's people like you. It's people like Josh Gillis and many other people who've rallied around what we're doing and supporting and everything. But I love this community. I would be lying if I didn't say, like, a couple of first years here, I was like contemplating on, like, am I going to stay? Because I feel like for young people my age or maybe younger, like, it is sort of a revolving door because there's not a lot to do, and the unique things like the theater and stuff like that, and just giving that opportunity. We've had people get involved from the Air Force Base, which is really cool, and they're on their own timeline and stuff here, but while they're here, they're able to get involved in those kinds of things as much as they can, or like you said, students or faculty members from universities and stuff. It's really, I think, a neat thing for a small town, and so I try and look at different models around the country, for tourism and stuff, because my goal is that maybe one day a lot of people will come here to see our shows, but I think, like you said, a river town, giving people the opportunity to come and see a good show, have a bite to eat before the show, those kinds of things.
Can we talk about a little more about the development of the theater itself? So you spoke on, it was Tennille, correct?
Yes.
And she had some health issues pop up, is that right?
She did. So ended up, we wrapped up our season in spring of 22, and we were actually getting ready. It was like a couple of days before our summer workshop. We were just testing the waters to see if we could manage a summer camp, but it ended up being a little workshop. And she had called me on the phone and said that she was going to have to go to Nashville to get some treatment. She had just found out she'd been diagnosed with a form of cancer, and they were going to go up there, her and her family, and kind of see what all that was about. And after probably a day later, she ended up in the hospital. And I had found out through somebody that had worked at CCA that she had actually passed away of a brain aneurysm. And I mean, being a new person in a community, I latched on to Tennille a lot because, I was new, and we had a lot of similar interests and stuff. So it really hit me hard. Even though I didn't know her very well. Like, I had known her maybe about 7 months, but I felt like we had been friends for a lifetime. And so it took me a while to kind of like get my bearings and figure out what to do next, because she was one of the, the figures who helped shape, I think, the foundation for what we have now. And I was like, well, how do I keep going? But I mean, truly, I believe it was a God thing that, people reached out and, offered their help and stuff. But the biggest thing was the instruction, I didn't really I needed a second person at least to kind of help me. And I had kind of gotten to know a few people that were teaching at State or had moved back to State, and ended up befriending Corey Reese. Ended up getting her involved. She had just moved back from getting her master's degree and was looking for a little part-time work. And then also Allison Jones went to W Theater, and fantastic. And so ended up, they just kind of like fell into my lap, and they helped me get things going that fall. But yeah, Tennille was so instrumental, and I think shaping what we are doing now, but also was just such a great friend, I think, when I needed one the most, being new here in a community where I didn't know a whole lot of people. So
well, and sometimes it takes some unreasonable people. I refer to you that in a very good way.
Yeah.
Brian Munson is one of my other ones like that. There's several in the community. John Allman from the Dream Center, Renee Sanders, United Way. People who are doing, like, if you write on paper, like, oh, I would like to start a community theater group, which honestly, in most towns, there's a community in big cities. There's
Right.
professional theater groups and some
Yeah.
community ones. And the community ones do 2 shows a year and literally have to beg for money.
Yeah.
And you do have to when you start. And we're
Right.
both proud to beg for the Golden Triangle Theater at goldentriangletheater.com, where you can donate constantly.
Today is Giving Tuesday,
It
by
is
the
Giving
way.
Tuesday, the day of this recording, so we'll clip that and hype it out. But then you've got to prove it and earn it eventually. And so what you see is, luckily, we've got a couple professionals involved. You've got Lindsay Clemens, myself,
Yeah.
and some other people who can see that, but then see what you're doing with the schools. I get to see it
Right.
firsthand because I will try to schedule a voice lesson with Isabella Powell or somebody, and then she's like, well, I'm teaching at the middle school today.
I know.
And y'all are creating and building some value in the community that will feed it for years.
Yes.
Which a lot of community theaters can't catch their breath
Right.
to do. Like they may be looking for grants and other things like that, but at the same time, you're building your own audience.
Well, and I feel like I have to apologize at every board meeting because I'm always wanting to add something new, or I feel blessed that I have a great vision, and I don't mean that in any sort of like selfish way or anything like that, but I do feel like we have come a long way. We've got a lot going on, but I think personally I'm starting to realize, okay, Garrett, you need to slow yourself down just a little bit. But I mean, you're right. We've gone from me sort of being a volunteer and putting in some seed money for this organization, because I don't think people realize how much it costs to just have like our name affiliated with a show. I mean, it's thousands of dollars just to produce The Sound of Music, or Oklahoma, or Hairspray for that
Even
matter.
as I think referenced you asking about Hairspray stuff. And
Yeah.
I was like, it's really hard to find the stuff online that
It
I
is.
need to get ready. And you're like, well, that's because it's protected work.
It's
It's
protected.
essentially like, I can't look up the masters to a Chris Stapleton song on
Right.
like you have to pay for that. And,
Exactly.
and it's protected, and it's good too because it's protected within the sphere. Like the
Right.
smaller companies are supposed to, like if you're Golden Triangle Theater, you respect the fact that we're not going to try to steal Hairspray. And do
Exactly.
Hairspray. That they deserve some money from that.
Yeah,
so.
they do. But I decided to leave state because we were getting so busy, and also Isabella actually is our first full-time employee. But I remember the moment, I'll never forget it, the moment I realized, like, okay, this is a lot. Because I had been juggling state and this for about 3 years, and folks at state were really patient with me, and they saw what I was doing and very supportive. And our CPA on our board, Tom Buckley, God bless him, he has kept the ship afloat. But I didn't tell anybody I was going to quit. Didn't tell anybody I was going to quit Mississippi State, because I knew if I told my parents, they were going to talk me out of it. I knew if I told Tom Buckley, he was going to be like, no, because I knew it was our gala, our first gala. We were preparing that week, and it was just crazy. And I literally stood in the Lyceum in the auditorium and just stared at the wall and was like, I can't keep doing this, and I know that this is not sustainable. And I ended up letting my folks know at state on middle of October, and of course they understood. And then I told everybody else, and but we made it work. But we've now got 2 full-time employees and about 7 part-time instructors, and that varies from we have a community music school portion that we offer with lessons and stuff like that. Isabella does a lot of our in-school stuff. We're at Hunt Intermediate, the Boys and Girls Club. We just wrapped up our first All-for-One production at Hunt last week. We had the entire school attend, and we also had Stokes Beard Elementary there. I mean, it was crazy, all the kids, but the most rewarding thing was seeing all the students on stage, whether they messed up or not, just having a blast and getting the access, to that, and being able to, learn some lines and feel empowered, and, having their classmates root for them. I mean, that whole gym was just, gymatorium, had just lost it when they saw Simba come out, and some incredible singing. And I think, that was the goal of mine from the very beginning, is to find out ways to get more art in the school, because that is one of the unfortunate things in in our school system now, and it's not just here, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. Is the lack of support for the arts in a bigger picture, setting, like we talked about earlier, how it can help X, Y, and Z when it comes to building social skills and all that. Just making a well-rounded human. But that was my goal, is to eventually have an in-school program where we are tapping into these schools who don't have the access. And so we do intercessions as well in West Point and Starkville. So we're busy, but it's a very rewarding busy for sure.
And of course, half of the Genesis, I guess 2 years ago, people coming in taking instrument and voice lessons, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not just kids. So
no,
I'm an adult student of the adult lessons, I guess, from Isabella.
Well, we've grown too in that area. We have a few adults now, including you, who take lessons. I have I think it's the cutest thing, but I have a dad and daughter who I've been teaching them now 3 years. They both take piano. And he's an Air Force pilot, and she's a student up in Caledonia. But that's the cool thing too, is getting to do something together. But we also just had our first adult acting class.
Sarah Wade
taught that. She's going to be teaching another session of it in the spring, after Hairspray. But
I might need it before Hairspray. So I tried out and I got into Hairspray. Sarah Wade works with me at Remax Real Estate.
Yes.
And absolutely
she works at Golden Triangle Theater too.
Yeah, she works at Golden Triangle Theater too. Probably primarily, I would say. But she tricked me into trying out or coming on to Oklahoma. And speaking of the acting class, including the Christmas play we did last year, most of my notes that y'all gave me were face the stage.
Yeah.
Face the crowd. Talk not the acting part of it, but the little fundamentals of theater and acting, where you're like, I don't think of them because you're watching shows and you're like, oh, I'm talking to the person next to me.
Right.
And they're like, turn a 3/4 angle towards the stage. And I didn't get to do her class this time, but I'll get to do it next time. My kid was going away to college, so I couldn't miss any of her stuff.
Give you some slack there.
But and so I feel some pressure when I'm on there, because like this time I told you I want to get off book, which means you know your lines ahead of time, because y'all partner up with Kristen Budlove from the Warehouse Dance Theater, and she's mean. You heard me, Chris. You heard it here first. She's tough.
I'll never forget during Oklahoma, which I thought the choreography was great. And it really did turn out to be fabulous. But I remember telling her, I was like, now these are movers, not dancers. And I think there is a distinct difference. But I will say this, though. For Hairspray, there are some dancers who have shown up to audition. So I think it's a dance show. Yeah. So, the quality is going to have to be Broadway-esque. But I'll never forget me being like, so they're movers, they're not dancers.
Well, I've never been so glad to be awarded the off tune, off time overweight drag mom in a show.
You're gonna be fabulous.
I'm gonna be fine. Yeah, I'm already working on it.
I hope you have your can of aerosol that you
practice with. Yeah,
practice
I'm gonna have
with.
There. So we'll see.
You'll be in a wig, no doubt.
Yeah, I would have assumed that to be several wigs and several dresses. So
maybe some padding too. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe not.
We'll see what happens. I assume I need some. So I'm pretty excited. So I think we've touched on Corey, Sarah Wade, Isabella, Sarah Wade's husband, you. Who else we got? Sadie's a big part of all the shows.
Sadie is, and she's a senior this year. She is she teaches our younger students. She got involved with working with them a couple of years ago and fell in love. And when I say a powerhouse with those kids, I'm not kidding. I mean, she is just incredible at what she's doing, and for her age. I mean, she just turned 18. And she just runs that class like it's a well-oiled machine. She is planning on, hopefully, I'm assuming that she will graduate in the spring. My hope is that she stays around, maybe considers the W, but she wants to do education, theater education. She loves teaching the students, the younger ones especially, and she's so great with them. So I would love to be able to keep her around, but I also understand if she's got to fly the coop and go off somewhere else. So
she's got some talent.
Great.
She's wise
incredibly talented. Yeah. You can see her in Elf Jr. She's playing Jovi, the love interest to Buddy the elf. That's coming up next weekend.
Yeah. No, she does great. So coming up for theater, what does the schedule look like
Yes.
after Elf? So Elf will be this podcast may come out right after Elf
Gotcha.
shows up. I apologize,
So-
but what else we have?
Elf Junior is our next big production. It's almost at October. Wow. December 12th through the 14th. We're going to have 4 showings, 7 on Friday night, a 2:30, and a 7 on Saturday, and a 2:30 on Sunday. But another really cool thing that we're doing with this production in particular is a sensory-friendly performance spearheaded by Isabella and Whitney Ferguson with the Rowdy Foundation. For you, I don't know if you know anything about what sensory friendly is, but it was a really cool experience what we did with Frozen. It was a small group of students, younger students especially, who might be sensitive to lighting and sound and stuff. So we kind of eliminate a number of things to help give them the experience of being at the show. But not having all of the noise and the maybe the potential to have sensory overload. So we're doing that again with Elf, and that's going to be next Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. We're very, very excited about that. Whitney is an incredible human being and so passionate about what she does, and really has supported us with getting something like this going. I have a friend actually in Huntsville. They do a sensory-friendly performance with at least one of their shows a year. So that's, again, another thing. Accessibility, access for all is something that I really... It's just so cool that we get to do it in a small town like this, you know.
Well, Whitney and her lesser husband, Scott Ferguson, I've had them on a couple times for different things like that. And same thing, they unreasonably started, they're like, well, we didn't have enough stuff to help accessibility for our son with autism.
Yeah.
So they started it. And
Yes.
then it's huge.
Right.
It's bigger than huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
And it's gotten bigger and bigger,
Huge.
and they just keep thinking of, they're very considerate people. They keep thinking, okay, all right, we're having little hands, big trucks. We need to have a quiet time. Like, I can't imagine the main thing in Frozen. I stuck my head in when they were doing the sensory one for that.
Yeah.
Only because I wanted to see how are they going to do the costume change and all this other stuff for that, and to be able to kind of calm it down. There's actually quite a few adults that could probably come sit in there and enjoy a little peace and quiet too.
Probably so.
Because Frozen's a big, loud show. I don't know. I'm not familiar with Elf, but I know Frozen.
You know, Elf is not that loud. It's less music, more dialogue. But it's such a fun show, a movie that we all kind of grew up with. Now we're doing the junior version.
Yeah.
So if you aren't familiar with Elf the musical, it's shaved down a little bit just to fit within that time frame of about an hour. But highlights a lot of the best parts of the actual musical. But if you've seen the movie, you're very familiar with the show.
Okay. What comes up after Elf Junior?
After Elf, we've got a murder mystery. It's going to be at Cromwell Theater on the campus of MUW, which we are super excited about getting to do over there. But it is, I'm not going to, only because it's a farce and the title is so obnoxiously long, we just call it Farndale. But basically, it is a British comedy about this group of ladies who put on a play. So it's a play within a play. And we have Shane and Melanie Tubbs,
Yes, it's gonna be,
local celebrities to
by
Columbus,
itself, so.
and the Golden Triangle. But they are a hoot. And the funny thing about this show is, it's a murder mystery, but it's all of these. There's 5 characters, and they're all playing like 2 or 3 different characters, and it is just hilarious. Melanie's playing this French maid. I mean, you have to come just to see the French maid. But that's at the end of January. And then we split our groups up this year to where we have like a high school group, middle school, and elementary. And then after Farndale, we have Madagascar Junior. That's going to be the following weekend. We're crazy. I know. We just sort of live for, you know, the chaos and the adrenaline. But that's the next weekend. And that's our middle school group. And then Hairspray.
Yes, the musical.
The musical. And that's going to be March.
Big production. So
I mean, how many? We had over 45 people come and audition. And I think Thomas took everybody. You know.
Yeah, so the ensemble. I was like, holy cow. So that last number's going to be...
My first thought was like, okay, do I have enough money to costume all these people? But no, we're going to make it work. But it's going to be
BYOC, bring your own costume?
Bring your own costume. But that's the cool thing is there's so many new people. There are so many new people in this production. I mean, I think over half of the cast are new people, either from Starkville or West Point. So, getting people over to our area, neck of the woods, is going to be so awesome. But so much incredible talent. And to do a production like this, it's a funny show, but also it's, there's some strong content in the sense of just the powerful message that it has. So it's going to be really cool to get to see Kaya King as Motormouth Maybelle. Katie Ann Sales, she's from Starkville. She's going to be playing our Edna. And, of course, you as our not Edna, I said, you know what I mean, Tracy Turnblad. You as our Edna. And then Ben Lang as our Corny Collins. I mean to tell you, I cannot wait.
Well, I looked him up because, some of the people I obviously don't know, they're college kids. And then probably the next day they're like, why is this old guy friending me on Instagram, But Ben had some of his stuff on there. I'm like, I'm like, talk about it. I call him a glue guy. Yeah. Like, he's going to be able to hold I don't worry about him. I'm like, that's going to be awesome.
He's going to be great. He's going to be great. And that's the cool thing, too, about, theater is that, especially community theater, a lot of these people live a different life during the day, and then this is their outlet. Ben is an attorney. Lindsay's an attorney. You're a real estate agent, and just giving you all this opportunity to come and have fun on stage, dress up and, drag or whatever. Just kind of giving you that fun moment to just, let loose and have a good time. So I'm excited to have him involved because he's new. But, this production is going to be something very exciting for the community for sure.
And something I didn't know that I would assume, if you're on Broadway or somewhere else that took this amount of preparation. But I remember when I asked Sarah Wade when she's talked about Oklahoma, you should come try out for this. I'm like, well, I don't know how to do anything, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what are the practices? And she's like, well, there's about 30. And I'm like, what?
Total.
Yeah, total.
Between the process.
Yeah, and I'm going to get those over 3 months or 2.5 months. It's 3 days a week, and then the last week's a solid 10 days in a row of stuff. It's neat to see how seriously everyone takes it, including Second Tree.
Exactly.
Like when you say that, I made that reference, and when the first time after Oklahoma, when I was like, I'll try to do something else, I was like, I can't be Second Tree because my wife's got health problems and I got 3 teenage kids, and it's 30 practices. Now, if you let me come in for 2 practices, then I'll be Third Tree and do it. It is an ego thing, but the more I spend time with it, I'm like, I just want to be on stage. That's it. You just want to be there. You know?
Exactly.
And I saw so many people in Oklahoma who weren't on the show but were singing the chorus backstage, supporting. Yeah. Like Mike Allen, Jacob, and a couple other guys who are just world class. I'm very excited to have a loving husband on the show this time. So that'll be funny in and of itself.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, we do rehearse about 3 times a week, but not everybody's called at every rehearsal, or it could vary. But at the end of the day, too, you all have lives. You have kids, you have families, But we also, when it comes to the production itself, we want it, at least for me, and I know for others, but I have expectations. But I want it to be great quality, when we get into those final couple of weeks, that practice, just for the continuity's sake, because those are when the elements of costumes, props, all that stuff is there, and you haven't been used to that in weeks. So now all this getting thrown into your hands, and you're like, oh, actually, it's taking me about 45 seconds longer to get on stage because I'm having to throw on a wig or do a quick change or something like that. So having that those rehearsals, days in a row allows you to kind of figure out, what's going to work, what's going to work. So
I was shocked being part of it in Oklahoma how really different it was in the last 10 days.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, before, I was like, oh, this
and throwing an orchestra,
Yeah, the orchestra there, and they slowing down on my account.
Right.
I'm like, good for you. Slow that down for me. Yeah. But it was such a different show when it came together. I was like, because then I was watching it while I was like, oh, this is fascinating,
It's hard to not get distracted whenever it's all come together.
Yeah, especially, I always say we have some ringers, but you've got people like Jacob Vernon and other people who are I'm like, this is amazing. So I don't know. We've got 3 or 4 people coming in for Hairspray, where I'm just like,
yeah, it's gonna be great.
So
it's gonna be really good.
All right, well, good. Well, how do they support the theater if they want to just throw you random piles of money, get involved, or get their kids or themselves lessons to learn how to sing?
So we have our, after ELF is over, our high school group actually is going to the MTA Festival in January. So that's kind of our last big thing. But they will have a means of performing one more big musical Newsies in May of 2026. Registration for that is going to open up sometime probably in January. But you can always go on our website and find out how to either get your students registered for a class, or summer camp will be coming up. We'll probably start putting out that information. I think the shows that we have picked out for next summer are going to be great.
They're going to be ready.
Great.
You don't want to let the name slip.
I don't want to let the name slip, but I will say one might have had John Travolta as a star in a past life. But anyways, that may have given it away. But yeah, going on our website, or coming by. We now with me, is he there? There's somebody there to come by the office, come by and say hello.
And that's at the Lyceum at Lee, across from the Sunflower Grocery Store.
Yes,
on Military Road and 18th Avenue. Enter on the 18th Avenue side.
That's right.
And you go to, we'll just do this, goldentriangletheater.com.
There you go.
On our thing. You'll got a good website. And there'll be a QR code. I'll put it on the screen so they can shower you with money. Or sponsor and add the program. And
that would be great. Sponsor and
I do have
folks.
to say this, which growing up in New Orleans, a very cultural town, a lot of arts and stuff. And my dad used to tell me, he's like, the interesting part about the arts is the money's split. And the way he meant that is that you have a lot of fancy highfalutin professionals going, and a lot of working class folks going, and that's the key, is to you have a good mix of people who might not be in the room together before.
Right.
Every show I've been to, every show I've starred in, the sincere reaction, even from my petulant teenagers, has been like, that was way better than I expected in Columbus, Mississippi.
Right. Well, it's like, we had, even when I was in school, we had one performance that, like, this, I remember this guy, he was like, I don't really like opera, but I love coming to one night only. And that was kind of where we got to do whatever we wanted. So, like, we'd sing pop tunes or cabaret. It's like the gala. We have people who probably wouldn't come to a show, but they love to get dressed up. They love to come to the gala. And it's great that we get to have those kind of events where it's like, we get different parts, different demographics, different kind of folks in our doors one way or another. So, yeah, theater is for all, but anyways.
All right. We'll love having you on the show, and we'll see you soon
so
at Elf Jr. and then the next 25 shows behind that.
26.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the podcast. My name is Colin Krieger, and my day job is real estate. If you're looking to buy or sell, I'd love to talk to you. Or if you just want to sit and talk real estate in a no pressure situation, I'd love to help you. I work with RE/MAX Partners in Starkville, Columbus, and West Point, Mississippi. I can help you find an agent anywhere in Mississippi or anywhere in the country. Just reach out to our office at 662-327-7705 or find me anywhere when you type in 662-329-SOLD.